Late night, come home. Work sucks. I know. She left me roses by the stairs. Surprises let me know she cares.
Oh, that's Adam's song, right?
That's Blink 182.
Yeah. Late night, come home. What's there? What's after? I forget the song.
Saying ain't so. I will not go. Turn the lights off. Carry me home. And then they
Na,
go
na,
into the
na,
na
na, na.
na 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 na.
That little thing. That Blink 182 had some bangers, man. Like What's My Age Again, all that stuff. Oof,
Yeah,
good
such
stuff.
such a good vibes, good throwbacks.
Hey, man, how's the trip to New York?
Your trip was dope, man. Yeah. So those of you guys didn't know, I shot up to New York City real quick this past weekend. Had a giant, awesome food tour. I think we we did ate a bunch of good food. Was telling Andy, we went to like Super Taste in Chinatown. Hit up was it Radio Bakery?
Oh, you got
That
to the radio?
We went to Radio Bakery, yeah, right before we jumped on the airplane, and then stopped by Winsun Bakery. That
Oh,
was really really good too. And then yeah, that like Changfun rice roll cart,
again?
fire. No, just that one time on Saturday. But yeah, and then we met up at, what was that spot that we went to? The French spot,
Oh, went to Amelie.
Amelie. Yeah, that was dope. Got some nice gelato, man. So yeah, didn't track any macros this weekend, but it's all good. Macros don't count up in New York.
Hey, trust, man. You got a long run in, so you can't even stress it. Yeah, we got to meet up, Christy and I, Peter and Catherine, and it was just like a nice little. Well, it was super nice during the day. Then it got super cold. And
Yeah,
then,
I was not built for the cold at all. Yeah, down here in Florida, it's consistent. Dude, after I got back home yesterday, instantly got off the plane. It was like 78 degrees with 80% humidity. Started instantly pouring. So I was like, oh yeah, we are back, baby.
yeah, man. Peter ate so much that Saturday we went out to dinner. He's like, "Yo, bro, I'm so full. I don't like do anything." Oh man, but that was actually the second time Peter and I have met up. We've known each other now since,
I was in NPT school, man.
yeah, I was gonna say like 2017
Yeah,
probably.
2017, 2018. Yeah, OG days, man.
But it's always funny when it's like we meet up and I'm like, yo, this is like doesn't feel weird. It's not like an internet friend kind of vibe.
Yeah.
But dope, man. Glad you enjoyed New York. I know they ain't got Asian food like that in Jacksonville, so you got to like put that MSG in the fucking
I
veins.
know. I feel like I gotta put it on a quarterly trip just to kind of quench my Asian food thirst.
What is the one spot in Jacksonville that you're like it, it hits the craving at least a little bit?
Yeah, so this really good omakase place. Yeah, if you guys ever come down to Jacksonville, got take you guys there for sure. But it's called Norikase, and I feel like is always like a pretty good, kind of like pretty authentic like sushi tasting spot there. And then there's also this spot called Hot Pot and Korean Barbecue. I don't know if it's
Oh,
like
that's
that.
what it's called?
That's literally what it's called, bro. I don't know if it's like that legit or what, but it's always so it's an all you can eat, and like if you guys know me, like I love food, and so anytime I can ball out an all you can eat spot, like that's my jam. But yeah, it's like you have the hot pot in the middle. Everyone gets their own hot pot soup base, and there's like 4 different flavors you can choose from, and then there's a communal grill in the middle. And so yeah, it's for Korean barbecue, and they have all the raw meats and toppings up front, and you just you ball out for 2 hours. I think 2 hours is the max, but it's cool because typically all you can eat, it's either Korean barbecue and or hot pot. But this spot, they combine the best of two worlds.
Yo, that is like some elite SEO right there for like a name, Hot Pot Korean Barbecue. The only thing they're missing is like Hot Pot Korean Barbecue Jacksonville.
Yep.
I'm still calling it right now. If anyone wants a practice that just absolutely crushes it, you don't ever have to worry about leads. Name your practice physical therapy near me. If anyone does that, I freaking applaud you. That is like some Jedi shit. Like,
Yeah. Nobody cares about the logo or anything. Just name it that. I was thinking too. It's like, yeah, like there's a practice here called Jacksonville Physical Therapy, and no matter what, like they always rank number one for for that exact search term because that's the name of the practice.
Yo, it is like absolutely elite when people do stuff like that. Like we try to rank for Bryant Park Physical Therapy, which is like, the train stop that we're at. And little do you know, there's Bryant Park Physical Therapy, Grand Central Physical Therapy. I even think there's Times Square Physical Therapy. So I'm just like, damn,
Everyone's already thought of it. But yeah,
everyone's on.
it's genius marketing.
So, Peter and I think the cool thing about if you're listening, and obviously there's a ton of business coaches out there, and I always tell people, it's like, hey, when people are like, hey, I'm kind of interested in working with you guys, I'm thinking about you and someone else, I'm like, I totally get it. But does that other person actually have a business that you can actually click on their website, schedule an appointment, and actually, get the service of physical therapy, right? Because there's a lot of business coaches currently right now that their main source of income is teaching other people on business. They don't actually have a physical location. And I think one cool thing about Peter and I is we've got skin in the game. We're running the practice right now. So Q1 just ended. And I think this episode would be a dope kind of talk about what we're planning for Q2 and, how we're setting ourselves up for success. So Peter, what you got going? What's in the cards for Q2?
Yeah, man. So Q2, there's two really big buckets for us that we're really trying to optimize. The first one is time to value for like an employee or a PT. So we just brought on our fifth physical therapist at our Jacksonville location, and I have an awesome, great clinical director, Raf. But on average for us right now, it takes probably about 4 to 5 months for us to bring somebody who's completely brand new, get them up to like 30 visits a week. So right now, me and him, we're kind of strategizing and figuring out like, okay, cool. Right now, it takes about 4 to 5 months to bring someone up to that 30 visits a week. How can we condense this time frame so that we can get them up to this 30 visit a week KPI in an even shorter time frame, maybe like 2 to 3 months, right? And so a lot of things that we're kind of doing like a rehaul on the back end is really increasing their comfortability with sales process on the initial evaluation. So for us, like that very first month, all they're doing is really just doing follow-up visits, making sure, hey, they feel really, really comfortable from a clinical standpoint. And then from there, doing a lot of role play with them. And then we'll do kind of like a self-rank test from both the clinic director standpoint as well as from the PT standpoint to be able to figure out, all right, cool. How do you feel with objection handling? How do you feel with presentation of plan of care? And once we're kind of both on the same page, all right, cool. Now we open the floodgates for new evals coming in and get them up to speed with that. So that's something that, we're kind of playing around in the process of is, optimizing, the schedule capability of filling them up a new clinician whenever they do come on. And then I will say the cool thing is like every single time we bring on a new clinician, in the multiple times that we've done this now, is onboarding looks different every single time, and every single time the new PT automatically increases their schedule fill rate like faster than the previous PT. And one of the things that I think is really cool that we've done is after the first 90 days of the PT coming on, we'll sit down with them and ask them. It's like, hey, how did you feel like the onboarding process was? Where do you feel like you need more assistance or help with in order to improve this process? And every single time we just take their feedback and implement it in for the next hire moving forward.
I love it, man. So what is I know you said, the first month it's mainly all follow-up visits, doing a lot of role play to self-rank tests. What are you adding this time around that you're super excited, or is that the stuff that you're adding?
Yeah, so that is the stuff that we have currently done that for the last PT. But I think what we're going to do, one of the feedback that she said after her initial 90 days was increasing the amount of practice role play. So currently, what we currently do is once a week we have an all hands like weekly employee like sales role play, where we do objection handling and stuff like that. But she was saying, hey, like on top of that, maybe adding in like 1 or 2 more additional role plays, whether it's with the clinic director or even with maybe another PT would be helpful just to be able to kind of increase and get that reps in. So what we are doing for this go about is aside from the once a week with everybody, we're going to maybe potentially get 1 or 2 other PTs to like alternate and hop in with them and, give them feedback on like, hey, this is how like I'm currently presenting plan of care. This is what seems to work really well for me. All right, cool. Like now you go, and then kind of see how they feel with that.
How do you go about structuring that? Like, because all hands on deck, I imagine like doing a one-on-one with somebody will be easier. Like all hands on deck, is it like
Yeah,
are we doing
it's
improv comedy
kind of
kind of thing?
It's kind of cool, man, because it's really the once a week opportunity where we get to bring both locations together and like have the PTs from both locations intermingle. Otherwise, like it's kind of just like, hey, our Jacksonville crew kind of like does their own thing, and then our St. Pete Clearwater team does their own thing as well too. So every Monday, 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., we bring everyone in together, and usually, we'll have one or two people bring up, hey, like this was an objection that I faced last week. This is how I handled it. This was the outcome. Like, what feedback do you guys have? So we'll usually do that, and then the remaining of like so we'll do the first half like that, and then the other second half we'll split everybody into breakout rooms, and then we'll switch up. Like, hey, like, all right, this week I'm gonna role play with Blaine, and the next week I'm gonna role play with Renee, and we kind of switch up different people to be able to role play with, and we give them everybody, hey, like, all right, cool. This week we're gonna go through this specific objection. Let's go through that.
Love it, man. That is dope. I love the team aspect of it, getting everyone together. Like that is super sick.
Yeah. I think that's like, I think especially, yeah, if anybody out there listening, if you guys have multiple different locations, sometimes it is hard to be able to kind of get that camaraderie together, right? Sometimes, people may feel kind of isolated in one specific location, but if you can kind of do some sort of like team training event, at least just once a week, I think that definitely goes a long way. Just so, otherwise the only other interaction that we get is really just like, the Wins channel on Slack, right? We'll give each other kudos from there, but it's always different whenever we, get to interact, either it's video to video. Right now, currently, we just do like an in-person hangout once a year, but I think, looking forward to maybe seeing if we can increase that up to two times a year, right? Maybe one at the half year point as well too, to be able to, increase some more face-to-face interaction. I mean, I always have a blast whenever we do that.
No, I love it, man. That is super dope. Yeah, going into Q2, I think like one in Q1 was like, I'll be straight up. I was fucking in a creative lull, just trying to figure out what the hell I wanted to do personally, life wise. A lot of that's working with a life coach and figuring out like what my zone of genius is. But after some reflecting, I'm like, all right, what is like the biggest constraint that I have to overcome, right? The biggest constraint currently is the marketing side of things. So it's like, all right, whatever you focus on, or all of my energy now is moving towards like, how do I improve marketing? How do I get more people through the door? And this is something that we have this kind of like ebb and flow that kind of occurs from like what typically happens with like content marketing. So if you do well with content marketing or you have a lot of one-on-one relationships, these aren't like just levers that you can really pull. You're just kind of staying consistent with your content marketing. You're staying consistent and talking to people, but you don't know when people are actually going to inquire. You have some data that kind of occurs after doing this for like 3 years and like kind of like how many evals and stuff that you average. But one thing that we're putting a huge emphasis on is doing ads again. We hit ads with a previous group before in the past. And, I'm not going to throw in any names. It was just fucking a terrible experience. And we probably lost, well, actually 2 groups in the past. So one group, we probably lost 30 G's. And then another group, we probably lost 20,000. That was all in 2023. And it was just like a terrible experience to the point that like we were getting messages from the people that were seeing our ads. It's like, hey, can you please stop texting me? Can you please stop, sending me these automated prompts? And all the copywriting and the CRM that we were utilizing was just like so spammy. Like it would have worked maybe if I had a practice in like West Virginia. No, I don't mean it. If you're listening in West Virginia, I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, but I think like one thing to think about is like, where are you and what type of people are around you, right? As New Yorkers, a lot of this is like conversational marketing. And it's not just like this, hey, question mark emoji. Hey, do you, how come you haven't responded yet? Uh-oh, did you forget about me? Like this kind of copywriting is just horrible for like a New Yorker. It just feels like spam. So Q2, we've obviously got our ads launched already, which has been amazing. Got a couple of evals already on the calendar. And the cool part is like, we're not even doing a special offer. Initially, when we ran this, it was like $49 run evaluation. We're getting terrible leads. The group that we were working with was like, hey, it's not that the leads are terrible. It's like your sales are really bad. And I'm like, dog, I'm converting at like an unbelievable percentage. I'm telling you right now. One, these leads are coming from areas in New York City that we've never covered before. we've been in practice now for 2 years. I'm getting leads from like neighborhoods that I've never seen before. Like it's probably not ideal.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we're not running any crazy offer. We're just getting people straight in for an evaluation, and then we're taking a 50% deposit, which is 150. And I'm like, wow, it's doing pretty well so far. So Q2, we're really going to be honing in on meta ads. We've been doing Google ads now since last October. It's been helpful. But the meta ads is something I'm super pumped about.
Love that, man. What's your guys' like current monthly ad spend in
So
Meta?
in Meta, monthly ad spend currently right now for the first month, we have two different things going, and it's about 500 per month.
Cool. So
Yeah,
so about 1,000
thousand.
altogether. Yeah, awesome, dude. Yeah, and I think especially as you kind of get like a as you slowly start to test out and see more points of data, you can consistently slowly start to scale that up a little bit more and more. To yeah, especially as long as you continue to run like a consistent, 3 to 4x return on ad spend, like there's no reason why you can't continue to scale that up.
Yeah, we've had some really good leads come in. So like with the 4 evals booked, one of them actually, when we are talking to them on the phone, was like, "Hey, I'm coming from XYZ clinic. I just was unhappy with my experience." And I'm like, "Oh
Yeah,
wow, like you've already been into another one-on-one physical therapy practice, a practice that we knew." Um, So I was just like, all right, cool. Another person was like, hey, I actually own this supermarket in the city. And I'm like, damn, that's a nice supermarket. So it's been cool because the first time we did the ads, I was like, this was not the move.
yeah,
We were
not the
getting
right avatar.
the avatar was so far from like the type of people that we wanted to see. So to really be able to hone in on it, I'm pumped just to learn a new skill and dial it in and just like get more creative with the delivery of the ad itself.
Yeah, I love that, man. Why don't we dive a little bit deeper into like what that process looks like? For those of you guys listening, like my practice currently runs as ads as well too for Meta. We run it straight to an instant form, but I believe you guys are running it to a landing page, correct, with the VSL?
Yeah, so they fill out the form and it goes straight into the landing page with the VSL, and then we have like a drip sequence kind of behind that. So part of it's like the agency that we're working with. Part of it is like stuff that we've already built out within our CRM.
Love that. And ton of testimonials, social proof within the drip, right?
Yeah, so within the drip, the landing page itself, it's like, well, if you watch the VSL is really solid. It only took about 100 takes, but let's not. But if you guys aren't familiar with a VSL is, it's a video sales letter, right? So it's like if someone watches that video, you're kind of telling them what the process looks like. You're putting in some social proof. You're talking about how you're different, and it's like a 3 minute to 4 minute video about essentially how you can help somebody. And before I was like, dude, this is kind of ridiculous. I don't know if I want to do it, but what you're gonna realize is any kind of like high ticket sales kind of mastermind whatever product, they have some sort of VSL, right? And the goal is like if that person watches the VSL, you've nurtured them to a very high level
Yeah.
because they understand how you're different from a typical clinic. So like we talk about like how most of the people that come see us have been through multiple providers, not just physical therapy. We talk about what the process looks like, how you'll feel relief within the first session, how most of our clients get full recovery within 3 months. And then we layer in a bunch of social proof afterwards. When you scroll down on the actual landing page, we have even more social proof. And for us, we've also got the YouTube videos that we've been doing. So it's not just like a very flat image, but you get to see someone talk about their experience as well.
Yeah, I love that. I think, especially too, as like cash pay physical therapy gets more and more popular, people seek like you're gonna find one-on-one physical therapy to be very, very common now. But it's like, hey, how can we differentiate, our practice compared to all the other different options that we have? And one of the main ways that we can do that is by, increasing social proof through either testimonials and or speaking to their pain points at such a high level that they're like, holy shit, like this guy knows exactly what I'm dealing with. Like, this dude's pro. I gotta go see this guy. Right. And that's really, what the whole point of the VSL is. So if we know, hey, common objections that we might hear on the discovery call, if we can kind of speak to these a little bit ahead of time, then people come on to the discovery call that much more knowledgeable and are much more willing to put down like a 50% deposit at full price, right?
Yeah. And, all these things, it's like, I think from like self-development, self-improvement perspective, it's like I'm willing to pay people almost any kind of money as long as they
Mm.
can make me money, right?
Yeah.
So you might be listening to this and say, "Hey, Andy, like, if you guys already run a business course, right? Like, why are you outsourcing some of your marketing?" Because I'm like, because it can get better. And Peter has attended stuff like he's attended like Alex Ramosi stuff, and it costs a shit ton of money. We've both been a part of like different masterminds, and I think cumulatively we've probably spent over 300K just
Yeah.
on business education. So I think one thing to always think about is like open your mind a little bit, like broaden your horizon. And for me, it's like I've tried 2 different agencies in the past. And this third one that I was talking with, I'm not going to lie, it was freaking expensive. Um, but they were like, "Hey, if you ate at a bunch of restaurants and you ate at 2 restaurants and they weren't good anymore, we just stop going to restaurants." I'm like, "No, I know this fucking objection, but let's fucking do this thing." Right? Like, so I think it's always good to check your blind spots, always
Yep.
see like what other people are doing. And when you spend in some of these mastermind groups, like the cool thing is like once you've made your money back, this information is essentially free.
Yeah. So I think it's what people refer to as like the opportunity cost, right? So if like your goal is to make $1 million a year, but currently let's just say you make 100K a year, right? So it currently costs you 900K to not know how to make $1 million a year, right? And so I think, yeah, like information, knowledge, that's like the main thing that limits and holds people back, but yeah, if you can kind of decrease the time it takes you to learn that stuff, like why wouldn't you pay for it?
And I know a VSL works because their VSL was fire. I
Yeah.
watched that VSL and I was like, shit, take my money. Let's get this. I booked a call. And obviously, I'm a client of theirs now. But, it's
Yeah.
cool to be able to learn these things, talk to Peter. And, like, we just keep updating the way we operate within our practices and obviously within Go Getters.
Yeah. But yeah, like ads was something, same thing. The first like couple coaching groups that me and Andy were part of, it wasn't really something that they really taught. It was a lot of kind of like local networking, local events, which again is works totally fine. But to a certain extent, if you want to be able to continue to scale your team to multiple team members, you need other adjacent like marketing funnels to bring in consistent like warm leads into your ecosystem, right? And so yeah, it's just like at the very beginning, I was like kind of hard headed. I was like, no, I don't need to learn ads at all, man. I'm just gonna keep pounding out these events and stuff. But then, it's like, okay, cool. Like if ads are working for other people in every single other industry, like why can't I take the time to actually learn it myself, understand it at an appropriate level to be able to understand, okay, cool. How do we continue to optimize this to get people to know a little bit more about our stuff and how we might be able to help them? And so, yeah, like for us, like one of the other things that we're working on in Q2 is we actually brought on a second SDR. So, we currently have one SDR for each one of our locations, but for all the leads that we do bring in, I'm sure one of the things that you guys are learning from this agency right now is like, hey, like the ability to be able to call these leads at an appropriate time frame. And so for us, like we're actually capped out by how many leads, each SDR. SDR basically stands for a sales development rep, or for those of you guys in a physical therapy practice, what our front desk pretty much does, right? And so on average, like our one single front desk can make around 250 to 300 calls a day. And so for us, like we can, as long as you have like the creative and ad copy, dialed in, and our goal is to be able to continue to scale up the ads, like the leads will continue to come in. But we just one of the bottlenecks that we ran into last quarter and towards the end of last year was being able to have enough of like manpower to be able to call these leads ahead of time, contact them and then get them booked. And so as you guys will kind of slowly start to see, if you guys do start to ramp up ad spend, is how do you duplicate the success off of one person and have it pretty standardized throughout like multiple people now. And so now we're slowly starting to see, hey, like a little bit of a drop-off effect of like, hey, like the second SDR that we have just isn't necessarily converting as well as the rate that we want them to convert. So being able to streamline this process to be able to continue to hold the standard of conversion that we had is something that we're looking to optimize a little bit more. So yeah, one of the things that we're implementing in as well too for this quarter is just ongoing sales training, or sorry, ongoing call reviews once a week with our front desk sales team, and then constantly testing out new creatives. I think before, once we did find a winner for the creative, we would let it run for like a month or two. without even changing out the creative as well too. But one of the things that I learned in this last quarter is like, hey, like all the top like marketing agencies, like the best ones, they test out like 10 different creatives every single week. And so it's like, for us, hey, we may not be like treating that much in the clinic anymore, but it's like a lot of the time of what we do spending on is like, okay, cool, like what angle from a ad standpoint seems to work well, and then we continue to test it out, and then the ones that do work well, awesome, sweet, these are the winners that we want to optimize and go from there.
Yeah, I think that's like it's called like media buying back in the day, and it's
Yeah.
like people that just literally like look at all the different places that you can place your media and like what kind of media you would place and like tracking the ROI. And there's like this like cognitive dissonance because sometimes you have the lamest looking thing and it does the best, but you're like, this is so trash. It literally looks like somebody's finding Canal Street in Chinatown, like a bootleg.
Yeah. And it's like the creatives that you spend maybe like 30 minutes creating and you think it's like fire, it just like flops and doesn't do well.
Yeah, that's one thing where it's like, one when you start to look at like what your problems are, right? Like from building out your practice, most of the time it always starts with marketing. When you have too many leads that you can't like figure out like how to essentially get all of them to come through your practice, or they fall through the cracks, then you start to build out this like a full-on sales team more. And I feel like you've kind of got to that stage where like you've nailed the marketing side, but the
It's the
sales side.
conversion. Yeah. And that's what people don't understand is like, hey, you can get all the leads in the world, but if you don't have like a really good like appointment setting team or a full sales team to be able to convert these leads into like either a discovery call and or most importantly a scheduled evaluation with a deposit where they actually do show up, it's like, and we're just basically wasting money on leads. So it's a full on process. And then in between the time that they do the call and the time they do show up, like how can we continue to nurture these leads with like social proof testimonials so that when they do sit down with the physical therapist that isn't you, right, the face of the business, how can they continue to convert at a 70% close rate or higher that you're continuing to convert at? And so I mean, these are all just like fun things that we haven't really mastered yet, but it's something that in order to scale beyond yourself, you have to be able to understand and overcome.
Yeah, I love that. And that's kind of the next step. I'm almost proactively doing that currently right now, anticipating it, because Christy is making just an obscene amount of calls during the day.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been like our roles, right? I do everything in the front end, helping in the PTs, creating all the content. Christy is managing every single person that comes in interaction with us in the back end. And we've hired someone virtually, and we're going to hire another person virtually specifically, probably for the SDR role.
Yeah. I love that. I wish I looked in virtual assistants a little bit earlier, man. I know this is something I think you actually introduced me to the virtual third party staffing company that we ended up hiring our second one through. But yeah, for the longest time, man, our largest bottleneck was really front desk. We just have like and we hired locally, and we just had like a pretty high turnover rate. Average person would probably stay on maybe 6 months or so, and then they turn out partially because of, hey, potentially it is like an entry level position, right? And or like maybe they just didn't necessarily see like a next stepping stone for their career. It was kind of like unfortunately kind of capped at like, all right, cool, maybe you start as a front desk, but then you increase maybe to like an office manager. Okay, but then what, right? But the cool thing about like some of these places that we're staffing from, right, like the amount of salary that we're paying them goes like a tremendous long way, and they work really, really freaking hard, man. So it really ends up working out well for both parties. So yeah, it's just like, one of these things that, I wish I knew at the beginning, man.
Yeah, one thing I'm transitioning over now, it's like we've been doing a lot of DM conversations, but it's just so hard to manage because legitimately that's like a full-time job. Like it's in order, especially if you're, it's like my inbox, it's like at the end of the day, I'll have 100 text messages and I'll have like 100 DMs. And I still want to live my life.
Yeah.
So now in this next upcoming quarter, hiring someone that's just going to be DM setting, like straight up just setting calls. And if we're not setting calls, we're going to be pointing them towards like really, really helpful lead magnets so that we can start to build our email list. So it's just like a win-win.
Yeah, I love that.
Follows currently like Moment PTP, you're probably going to get a message. And from there, try to create some like really good lead magnets, get them on there. Anyone that's following me personally, all that stuff is probably going to roll out within the next month. But I think there's a cost of not knowing these things, right? Like you were saying.
Yeah.
And immediately I'm like, oh, the friction of hiring is like, oh, I'm going to be paying someone potentially a couple of thousand every month to do this, but I might be generating like a couple, like 20, 30, 40,000 from paying someone to handle all the DM conversations. So I think at some point you kind of realize like, what is your best skill set, right? Like my best skill set is like learning things, whether that's from a clinical or business perspective, creating stuff on that, and then teaching. I still put treating on there because, I love to treat. But if I want to grow the team, it's learning, creating, and teaching. Like those are the three things that I really need to focus in on. So I don't need to be having some of these more, I don't want to say robotic conversations, but anything that's more like repetitive in nature, it's not too fulfilling and honestly probably drains you and doesn't allow you to deal with other things at a high level.
Yeah, it's like it's a lower skill task that you can easily offload as long as you have the right onboarding process and operations to be able to set this person up for success. I know that was something that I struggled with tremendously at the beginning. I was like, dude, I'm doing everything because I'm the best at everything. Right. But you'll slowly realize like, hey, like, yeah, while that might be true, like you're gonna slowly start to like burn out because you're literally doing every single thing. Right. So it's not sustainable. And if your goal is to be able to impact as many people as possible, you need to bring on other team members. And your goal as the leader, as CEO, is to be able to create systems and processes so that you can plug and play a new team member that can perform at maybe it's 80% or 90% of the efficiency and utilization that you're able to produce from an output standpoint, and be able to continue to move the needle forward. Dude, so for like your DM, do you have like a specific like phrase that you like to talk or that you like to say that you'll kind of train your DMs there to speak those phrases?
What do you mean?
So it's like when you're talking to people, like, so for me, I always like to say yo or like bro. Um, so yeah, do you have like specific phrases like that you commonly utilize in the DMs that you want to be able to, have your setter utilize?
Honestly, I probably have to adapt that a little bit, but I think one of the things that I always say is going to be like, "What's going on?
Yeah.
What's going on?" So it's like adding some of that. I'm almost fine with not. It's almost like there's this weird part of me where I'm like, I almost want someone to know that they're not talking to me. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Because it just humanizes it. It's like, oh wow, like I don't want to be the guy that's gatekeeping. It's like, hey, I'm fucking doing all these things. Like, no, motherfucker, I'm paying someone to do all this stuff.
Bro, you should have them send a selfie beforehand. It's like, yo,
Like, yo, what's up? I'm working with
it's
Andy.
Jamil checking in from Andy's
Yeah,
team.
yeah. But that's kind of like the thought process, right? Like I think nowadays it's like everyone thinks that you do everything, and it feels
Yeah.
like I'm like, bro, I'd rather show you how we're building. Like these are some fucking huge mistakes we're making, and here's how we're correcting it. But I feel like people resonate with that more, and I don't want people to be like, oh, yo, but I was talking to you 6 months ago, but I'm like, dog, that wasn't me. That's in the Philippines,
Yeah.
like I want them to know that like when they're talking to me, they're talking to me. When they're talking to someone else, it's one of those things. I always want to approach it from like a super, super authentic perspective, but I get it. It's like, you don't want it to feel like, I don't want it to be a super robotic either. Like, hi, we sell physical therapy. Do you need, you know what I mean? Like, I just want someone to just start conversations.
Yeah, it's funny. So for our physical therapy Instagram account, we actually just brought on someone from the Philippines to do outbound messages. She probably does, I think anywhere between 100 to 150 outbound messages on Instagram a day. But I was looking at some of the like intro messages that she sends, and some of it is just like shit that I'll never say. But it's just like, wow, like I love your like genuine like outlook on life or something like that with her most recent post. And then she'll follow it up with like, hey, like thanks so much for connecting, are you like looking to learn a little bit more about like rehab, or like what specific questions do you have? But like the amount of like sunshineness in that initial sentence is just like something that I thought was like super fun. I was like, oh man, this is cool. Like this is something that I'll definitely never say, but people respond really well to it. They're like, oh, thank you so much for the kind words. I was like, man, kindness fucking kills, dude. So yeah,
Yeah,
just
that stuff. It's like, I don't, because there's gonna be some people listening, and you're gonna experience some like, oh wow, they use VAs, like they're working in such terrible conditions. dog, my VA, the one that my guy Jam, bro is chilling. He's traveling to a different country every other week. He makes like I think like anywhere from like 4 to 6 times a healthcare provider would make.
Yeah.
Like they are VA is probably one of the most lucrative jobs currently in some of these places. And honestly, we're fucking chill as fuck in regards to like management. So like it's a great job. Like I would take that. I'd switch places. Shit. Sometimes I'm messaging, I'm like, yo, bro, your background changed. Like, oh yeah, I'm in Thailand. I'm like, what the fuck?
Hanging with the elephants.
Yeah. One thing I know we both have been talking about this going into Q2. We've done a couple of this already in Q1. Influencer marketing. What you got going? What you got cooking with this one?
Yeah, so I think influencer marketing is it's another form of advertisement, paid advertisement, if you will, right? We haven't really fully delved into this yet, but I think with influencer marketing, they already have followers that already know, like, and trust them. I think a really great example is like one of the guys that I follow. His name's like Daniel Dalen, and he has this like pair of sunglasses, and he was just like, "Oh yeah, like check this out." I was like, instantly bought it like the next day once I once I saw it. But it's just like, these people, they have a ton of like loyal followers, and there's a lot of like local people, right? Whether it's like fitness influencers, or I think you were even talking about like food bloggers, right? But people who hold like local authoritative opinions that other people care about. And so if we can kind of like continue to collaborate with them, whether it's like on a paid collab post, or maybe it's like, hey, come in for like a free treatment. I want you to experience and document what it's like going through an initial evaluation here. And then they push it out to their followers. It's like, boom, instant more views on that expose you to your local community. And then there's just, I don't know, I forget the exact term for it, man, but it's just like when you see somebody that like, and trust, and they partake in a service and or something, it's just like that trust and rapport just instantly builds because they're doing that one thing.
Dude, all that stuff, like you want to say that like you don't care, but I know everyone's buying the sneakers that are endorsed by an athlete. You know what I mean? Like I know
Yeah.
everyone that's like you're always influenced. And that if you admit that, or if you don't admit that you are influenced, you're probably even more influenced, right? If you're not aware. So I think there's this like you're not looking for the people that have already fucking crushed it, right? Like they're like I always reference like my buddy Matt Choi. Like I had a podcast. I did a podcast with Matt Choi when he had 1,000 followers. He asked me to be on. We've been friends since he's gone Hollywood, right? And like you reach out to someone like Matt, probably won't happen, right? But Matt's already told me multiple times, like, bro, let's. He usually comes into town. He's like, hey, you want to treat me? We could do something on Instagram, but we usually meet up. We get coffee and we end up talking for way too long. I'm like, fuck, we didn't do what you originally planned.
Love that.
But people that are like really big time, you probably won't get DM, or they're going to ask you for something crazy like $10,000. And, sometimes it could be worth it, right? Like, I'm not going to tell you it isn't, but if it's not in your budget currently, that's tough. But you might have these like micro influencers within your community. I think you shared a story of a runner. Someone's like, yo, I saw XYZ on your wall. And I think that's kind of what we're going to be leveraging. There's been friends of mine that have been in the industry for a couple of years. They built a little bit of a following, and I don't want them to be like, yo, do it for free, etc. Right? Like some of them will. And if they do, I'm going to fucking take them out to a beautiful steak dinner. But if not, like I want to be able to offer something, right? Because like if you just pay 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, it might seem like a lot, but if you close one plan of care, it pays itself
for it instantaneously.
And afterwards, it's Gucci. Like you're good to go.
Also, too, yeah, you guys have to think like if you're already spending that amount in ad spend, whether it's like Meta or Google, like you're basically spending that amount, but it's going to be towards a much warmer lead who already knows and likes and trusts this local, micro influencer. And so, yeah, I think that's going to be huge, man. But yeah, it's like these people that maybe like, 5,000, 10, 15K, or even 20K followers on social media and stuff that are within your local community, like they 100% want to be involved, man.
Yeah. Anything else you're thinking in Q2?
No, man, those are like the two to three big main items. I think something to be said about like goal setting too is like just pick one to two big things. There's so many things that you can do as a business owner to try and move the needle forward, but a lot of times people kind of maybe get a little bit too ambitious, right? And set maybe like 10 different things, and kind of get overwhelmed. But, maybe make a list and then look at the list and prioritize, okay, cool. What are the largest needle movers within this list that's going to be able to either generate more revenue for me this next quarter and or set up like a good foundation to be able to, generate more revenue maybe 2 quarters from now. And then pick and work on those things. And then if you get executed and completed within this next quarter, awesome. Continue to move down the line. But I think, yeah, one of the things that a lot of people mess up is just not picking the right things to work on.
Love it, love it. And it's got to be like, I think in the beginning stages of like entrepreneurship, you're just fucking grinding, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're in your 20s and you're an entrepreneur, like don't worry about fucking working smarter. Just fucking work hard.
Just work hard. Yeah. Yep.
Working smart, you don't know how to work smarter until you actually figure out what works. And then working smarter is focusing on the things that work more. And even now it's like, I'm on year 4, you're in year 6 or 7.
Yeah. Year 6. Yep.
Year 6. Like we're just starting to dabble in like YouTube, right? And because the group that we're working with that's helping us dial in our marketing is specialized in YouTube. So, we're hammering one video a week, and it might seem like a lot, but I just had this past Sunday, I recorded 4, right? And then that 4 piece of content will be YouTube shorts and a bunch of other things. And there's not a lot of PTs with actual practices building on YouTube. There's a lot of PTs giving just general advice. Like, oh, you have sciatica? Here is the figure 4 stretch and etc. So just try a lot of different things, see what's fun. Because like if it's not fun and it exhausts you, probably not going to be a worthwhile strategy. But the YouTube stuff's been fun. That's another thing we're going to be adding.
I love that. And also too, there's a learning curve, right? Where like anything you do at the beginning is going to seem super hard because you don't understand how to do it. And so you have to get the repetitions in, right? I'm sure like whenever you created your first like long form YouTube video, you're like, holy shit, like this takes forever. And like the VSL you were talking about, right? It took you like 100 times to do it because you've never done a fucking VSL before. But now like, okay, cool. You've done a couple videos by now. And so that learning process is now going to shorten because you know exactly, okay, cool. This is probably like the right way I have to set up the camera. This is the right way I need to, go about the talk. And so your process just improves tremendously. Now you're able to like just pump out even more content. But the only way you're able to do that is because you put the freaking amount of reps in at the beginning. And that's, I think, what a lot of people don't understand. It's like, you got to work hard at the beginning to understand what works and what doesn't work and continue to optimize from there.
For sure. Yo, next podcast, this one is already fucking dope. Next one's gonna be even fire. I think we're gonna talk about how to leverage the fact that you're a founder building a brand. There's a lot of things that you can do to attract people, because like people love to see growth. But we'll talk about that next week. It's been a fucking dope show. If you learn anything from this one, just focus on small wins, small things to implement. Rule of 100. Don't fucking give up until you've done it 100 times. In my case, recorded 100 fucking VSLs. Let's get this money. Peter, what else you got?
Celebrate the wins. I think, yeah, that's one of the big things, man. Like, celebrate the wins. A lot of times people just think about like, man, what L did I take this month and stuff? But celebrate the wins. That's what we're all about, man.
Yeah, let's get it. Peace.
See you guys.